Hey everybody! In this tutorial I'm going to show you some different ways to make whiskers and white fur. This is the English version of the tutorial. I've also done a full Portuguese version. This is Gandalf, my little one that is no longer a little one because it's grown up and it's 3 times this size. So this tutorial is about whiskers and white fur. It's always hard to make. This is a piece of soft wood, so you can achieve these results with birch, basswood, lime tree, all those soft light wood. So as I was saying, this is Gandalf, and he has these whiskers that are perfect for this tutorial. This photo is in black and white and has a little contrast. You cannot add too much because you will lose detail, so add just a little bit contrast. The fur here originally is also black, grey and white, so the whiskers make this contrast with the fur. It's perfect for this tutorial. So let's put the design onto the wood and start the tutorial. So I've already placed some graphite paper behind the design, the photo, and I'm now tracing the whiskers with the design with a red pen, which I usually use because I can see where I've traced. It's easier for me. You can use another color if you wish. It's exactly the same. For this tutorial it's not a big issue that you have graphite on top of the whiskers because it's an abrasive option, so it will erase the graphite. So let's trace also a little fur just to make the contrast with the whiskers also. Let's take a look at what we've traced, just adding a little more of the dark fur. The rest I think it's alright. It's okay as it is. So I will just zoom in a little bit so you can see better what I'm doing. For this first option you will need a special tool. It is not there are cheaper and more expensive versions of it. The one I have is a cheaper one. I have it for years. I used to do jewelry. I used to work with copper and brass, and so this was very handy for me. In pyrography you can use it to open these white areas, as I will show you. This is the engine of the rotary tool itself. you can place it on the wall. You can hang this on the wall. It has the velocity goes from 0.9 to 3.5 or 9 to 35 if you want. You can add it on these two buttons, and it has this extension cable which ends in this comfortable, let's zoom out a little bit so you can see, in this comfortable pen-like end, which you can add or remove tips. This tip is actually not for wood. It's intended for metal, ceramic, etc. Just because I don't have the ones for wood, but they exist. You can buy them if you want. All of this comes with the machine, the cable, and a lot of tips. As you can see, this tip is a diamond tip. It's not for wood, but let's see how it behaves. So I'm going to place the engine on the wall here near me, and I'm going to explain you how to change the tip. I use this, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better what I'm doing. I use these accessories. I put it in this hole to keep the tip still, so I can unscrew it and take the tip like this, and you can change it, put it back in. After screwing the tip, you must take this out. It also has these tips, which are felt tips, where you can place a layer of polishing compound. I used to use this. This one is the one I usually use. I have this new one. It's bigger. You can use a layer of polishing compound and then polish your tips, for example. I used to apply it on copper compound. It was lightly abrasive. I will say this again, this is a diamond tip, so it's not really proper for wood. There are tips really proper for wood, but this is the one I have, and I will use this one. What we are going to do is create a low relief of the whiskers, so that when we use the wood burner, these will not be burned, because they will be lower than the rest. You can use this machine, this tip again, just to enhance a part, or to remove some burning that eventually may happen in the whiskers or the white fur, or just to enhance it a little bit. So let's try it and let's see how it works. Don't forget to try this in a scrap piece of wood before you use it in a real project, so that you can feel the machine, what it does, the rotation, the power, so you don't ruin anything you're doing. As everything in pyrography and other types of art, please try this in a scrap piece of wood first, and then in the work you're doing. So here we have our whiskers. There is still some graphite in them. I think if you use the machine a little bit longer, they will completely disappear. Let's try to erase a little bit more of them. Like everything in pyrography, you need a little patience and try and error. This machine is very used also to build, to help build war games terrain and that sort of modeling things, like little houses, all of those things, rocks. Who likes modeling uses this tool a lot. It's very handy. So now let's switch on our wood burner and let's use it and see if what we've done really works. As you can see, I can go over the whiskers because it is a low relief. They should not burn, so you can burn as if they weren't there. Use it as you usually use it to make the rest of the fur and the darker areas. And just don't worry about them because they will always be safe because of the low relief. Don't forget you can use the machine again to correct some areas or just to enhance them. I think I'll go a little higher on the temperature so that you can see the effect it does, the contrast between the low relief and the burning. It's easier to see if it's darker. As you can see, I'm still going through the whiskers and everything's okay. They are still there. They have a little more contrast now. You can see better. They are now really popping up. I also wanted to tell you that the higher the rotation, the more fine the lines will be, and you'll have more control. This is my opinion, because there is a little balance on the tip, and the lower the rotation, the higher that balance is. So you should use a little bit higher rotation to do this. I think you will achieve better results. I think this technique is quite simple, and it is really very handy because you don't have to worry about these really wide areas, and you can burn as you usually do without worrying if it burned a little bit of the whiskers, and now what can I do, and I cannot go back. So this way you don't have to worry. You can go through it again with the machine if something happens. I think it's a very handy technique. The machine is not that expensive. You have the well-known Dremel tool. It's a version of this machine, but it's much more expensive. I've bought this one in a store named Leroy Merlin. It's a store, an European store, but I'm sure you'll have it in a store near you that sells tools, rotary tools and other kinds of things. So I think this is a good tool to add to your wood burning process for these occasions. So for this second option, I run into this set of materials that is usually used for nails. I think this is a very inexpensive thing. I think it cost me like €2, not even that. It can be used in this situation. I have this tip is a sharper one. I don't know if you can see it. This one is more sharp, and you have another one which is the smallest. It's round, it's a ball. All of the others are round. This has this is the bigger one, many sizes, and this one is the smaller one. I think it's the best of them all, and the other one I've shown you, it's sharper. And this is what we are going to use. Let's keep this aside because we aren't using these ones. So let's go back to the design. Let's put the graphite paper over the wood and our reference photo on top. This time I'll be using a black pen so I can see where I've traced. In this situation, in this technique, you should not press hard because this technique is about pressure, so it's not abrasive, and you will have the graphite. It won't take it, so don't press too hard, press really light, and erase it a little bit afterwards if you need to, because this technique is about a little pressure. It's also a low relief, but made with another material that I've shown you. So let's trace a little bit of the fur and all the whiskers, and I think it's done. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I think it's okay like this. So it is all set. Let's try our two tips, the sharper one and the round one. I think I'll start with the sharper one. This is about pressure, but don't press too much or you'll end up breaking your tool or damaging the wood. So you have to go through it several times until you achieve the result you want. What I've noticed with this sharper one is that the grain of the wood, it sticks to the grain of the wood, and it's harder to keep the direction of the whiskers. It works, but it's not as good as the round one, so I think the round one works much better. As I've said, what you will achieve with this tool is a low relief. Also, you will have the same situation as the other option. When you go through it with the wood burner, so now I'm trying with the round one, it's much easier. It slides over the wood. It's much more effective, I think, in my opinion. As I've said, don't press too much on the graphite paper, because this is not abrasive and you will have the graphite on the wood. After you go through it, for example, one time, you can erase the rest of the graphite because you already have the direction and the place of the whiskers, so you can erase the rest. And I think this one works best than the other one. So I tried to erase it before continuing, because I already have the place of the whiskers set in place. You can already see that they are there. So let's go through it again to add a little more low relief, so that when you go through it with the wood burner, the whiskers will be safe and will not be burned. I'm using the round tip. I think it's the best one. Don't forget that you can do the process as many times as you need until you achieve the result you're looking for. So let's turn on the wood burner and see what we've got, if it's enough. With this option you cannot go back, meaning that if the low relief is not low enough, you will burn the whiskers, so make sure that you've gone through it a couple of times, so that you will not burn that area when you are burning the rest of the design. As you can see, I'm going over the whiskers and they remain safe. They are not burned. This is also a good option. Again, as with the other one, try this first in a scrap piece of wood before you test it in a work you're doing, because you can know the tool a little better and you can know what to expect if you do things this way or that way, because this is a pressure option. You must try it first to see what type of pressure, how many times you have to go over it for it to obtain a good result. As you can see, the whiskers are there. I'm going over them and darkening the area a little bit so that you can see the final result. As you can see, this technique also works. I think the other one is better than this one, but maybe if I've gone through it a couple more times, I would achieve a better result. But here you have the whiskers, again safe from the rest of the burning. There are some areas that are still burned. I should have used maybe a little more pressure or gone through it a couple more times. This last option consists on the regular use of the wood burner. So let's trace the design again. This time I'll be using a pencil, since I've used the red pen and the black pen. This way I can see where I've traced already. Let's zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. In this option you should not make much pressure when tracing the whiskers, because we are not going over them when burning. We'll try to keep them safe from the burning, so trace as light as you can, and you can still erase a little bit afterwards. Let's put a little bit of the fur, the black fur also. so that you can see the contrast. I think it's good enough. This is option C. Let's zoom in a little bit so that you can see better what I'm doing. Okay. I will erase a little bit of the graphite anyway, to keep it lighter, because as I said, we're not going over the whiskers, we're just doing the opposite. We will try to keep the whiskers without the burning. So the trick for this is to keep the tip always facing the whiskers, which is not very easy and very comfortable, because you have the rest of the design to burn, and it's not always easy to keep the tip facing the whiskers. This is just because if you don't do this, the shading may go over the whiskers and you will lose some of the contrast. So if you can keep the tip facing the whiskers and keep it as vertical as possible, or use a sharper tip to go over this part of the design, to keep the whiskers or the white fur clean from burning. Don't forget that when we are burning hair or fur, you don't have to burn every single hair or every single fur, because we usually don't see that. We see strands of hair. Our eye is not capable of seeing every single hair, and it will not look real. So don't worry about that. Well, now that we've achieved a good amount of contrast, and you can see the whiskers there, you can use at the end as a personal option, or just to enhance the whiskers, or if you've burned a little bit of them, a white pencil. For these situations I prefer oil-based binders, just because the other ones, the wax-based binders, are softer, and it tends to break easier. I think the oil-based binders work better for these specific situations, at least for me, and this is my opinion. I'm using Caran d'Ache pencils, are the ones I have, and I think they work. I've used them in my latest projects, in Marilyn Manson for example, and they work very good. So here you have the three options that I wanted to show you. I hope you can use them. I hope this is useful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask on the comments or email me. I'm always willing to help, and I always answer everyone. So if you have any question, you can put it on the comments, and I will also upload the picture of Gandalf so you can use it. I will put it on my blog, and thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this. Thank you very much.